Oh, yeah. All right, we're live. Here we are.
We are here.
We got the legend, the OG. That's you. I mean, you're the
Well,
reason
man, how are you?
I discovered Booktube. So,
Well, because of me?
yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's an honor. I wish I could say it was a better first impression for you, but you're still here, so that's good. That's good. You're coming. You're about to hit 10,000 in your first year, right?
Yeah, it's
That's
crazy.
awesome, man. I didn't hit 10,000 until I was well above a year into this. So yeah.
It's wild. I don't even think about it. Some people will comment and be like, "Hey, you're at 9,000." I'm like, "Wait, what?" And I look at the number like, "Oh my gosh."
Once I got to 100, I stopped looking, because I was like, that was the achievement. I get that thing right there, and I was happy. And then it was just like, okay, there's everything after that's just gravy. Because when I started this, I said, if I can get to 5,000 subscribers, that'd be pretty neat. That was my goal when I started, 5,000, because that was about the podcast audience that I had before I started doing this was about 5,000. I was like, if I get back to that audience size, I think I'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, 5,000 people in the world clicking on you, choosing you. It's something.
It's kind of hard to wrap your head around. So like, I know it's real easy to be like, hey, you've got this many subscribers, and like 1% of them actually watch your videos, but still, I mean, to me, it's like, I remember back doing stuff on YouTube in like the early 2010s and like 3 people would watch it, and I thought that was neat. Oh, 3 people actually cared about what I said about aliens,
Yeah.
That was pretty cool, so it's definitely been a big change.
I know. And it's awesome. And I just love your output, the more book recommendations and you're a trusted voice on this platform. And I've fallen in love with amazing books. I've read some books that you've recommended that I'm like, but that's anything.
Of course, there's nothing more subjective. Maybe music, that may be the only thing, but I don't think there's anything more subjective than a book, because I don't think there's one book out there that everyone loves. There's always going to be someone who's like, I just don't see what you guys see in this. I mean, that's me with Name of the Wind, apparently. I mean, it happens that way.
I love it. It's the thing is I'm not like holding that book up, as like, if someone disagrees about it, it's like, that's fine. Let's talk about it,
That was the whole thing, is like, I did sports before this. And as sports can be kind of vitriolic. And then I also did media and, movies, comic books, video games, that stuff can get very, very nasty.
Yes.
So, I've heard all the mean stuff, but I was like, I want to talk about this, but I want my mission statement to be, or as Jerry Maguire would call it, a memo, was to be we can disagree on these things and still be pals and go get a cup of coffee afterwards. I don't think we have to be like, hey, let's fight to the death over this book. So what I found really great and just really just wrapped me up in this community was, it was the first time I'd done anything like this, and 99.9% of it was positive. The feedback was positive. I was like, wow. I was telling my wife about it when it first happened. I was like, I can't believe like almost all my comments are positive. And she said, well, it's because stupid people don't read. And I was like, well, I mean, I guess that makes a lot of sense, because you get some mouth breathers out there on the in the other ventures that I was doing at the time. But no, it's been a great community, because most people do this because we don't know people in real life, especially if you do SFF. You don't find a lot of people who read that kind of stuff. Really, it's hard. So the community like this is it's just made it feel like it's my real life friends now, because we can talk about what we're reading and stuff. And real life friends, I tell them, they're like, what are you reading for? Not what am I reading, but what am I reading for? It's like, really, that's really your question right now. So it's been very, very nice. And I think everyone has really just kind of this, wrapped up into a community, and it just makes reading so much more fun when you got other people that are reading the same things, I think.
Yeah. It's surreal. That's the Instant Pot. I made some lentils.
Sounds good.
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's great. It's
to say you could start doing books and cooking. You can call it booking.
I'll get my wife involved, and we'll just make little cooking videos.
Some of those hybrid things, man, they work really, really well. I mean, I'm a real big believer in stay on brand, but still, you can make kind of a hybrid channel. That's pretty good.
I like that. I definitely want to talk about video games here and there, but I'm not that big of a video game person,
right?
As I am a reader. But back to your point about just the community, like getting into Booktube, having that confidence to get out there, and like the comments, it's crazy. It's like, wow, You enjoy this? You enjoy me?
Yeah, it was really wild because I was like, surely no one cares about what I'm reading. I had no idea this was like a big thing. Everybody cares what you're reading. Apparently, I had no idea. So it was completely eye opening to me because I was like, with podcasting at the time, and they might have actually changed since then. But when I was podcasting, stuff like iTunes, it was like you could look and see, how many people were downloading and listening, but there was no real comment system. So unless they intentionally like try to seek you out on like Twitter or Facebook or something to tell you, hey, here's what I thought about this episode or something, you never really knew. So when I started doing this, I got so much feedback. It was really just like, wow, okay, yeah, the audience is real. It isn't just bots listening or something.
Yeah.
So that was very encouraging, I think.
Yeah, I love it. And peeps like you and Murphy, and that's so many. And then there's a lot of people who, like Midnight right here. Look at this guy. I don't know if you've seen his stuff. He's great. He's a small, we're all kind of little small channels, but we're all part of the community. And it's just, I love it.
I try to get around it because people always try to put me up in like with some of those bigger booktubers. I'm like, maybe in like subscriber count, but I was like, I'm still just like, hey, you want to talk, man? Hit me up.
A guy with Wi-Fi.
I'm definitely not too special to talk to anybody. I still just, as I always say, a guy with Wi-Fi. I just love to talk, and I love going on other people's channels because I don't have to edit anything. That's great. That's the best part, I think. Not having to edit anything. So
I kind of like lives too because I don't have to edit. I just hang out.
Yeah. If you have that ability, like I'm married to a redhead, I got to be careful. I can't put her on a live stream with me, because they just say what they're thinking. You got to watch out, But I feel like some people have the ability to go live and not stutter the whole time or say something that they're going to regret, I think. And there's some people who don't have a filter, and I understand why they can't do live streams. I enjoy doing it. I wish I had time to do it more, honestly. Live stream.
Yeah, it's kind of a toss up for me. It's like, okay.
Well, because I get on a live stream and I talk for 3 hours,
Yeah.
I've only got like an hour of time and I just keep yapping and keep yapping and keep yapping. Like I'm doing right now. Yeah.
No, I love it. And the cool thing about live streams is like, I definitely try to hold back and let the other person talk. So then it's like, hey, when people rewatch the video, that's their voice being heard. It's not me just talking over other people. So, because yesterday I interviewed Chance Dillon. I don't know if you've.
Yeah, I got his new book, Tears the Phone. Yeah, I got his new book. I haven't gotten to it, obviously, but yeah.
It was kind of like an interview. It was kind of a hangout, but I really just wanted him to talk.
Yeah.
And it's just great.
When I started doing Talk About Nothing, when I first started doing that, really my goal of that was to try to give a signal boost to some smaller channels. That was something I really tried to do for a long time, and just something that's kind of just wore down over a while. But I remember I did make it like a point every time. I was like, I guarantee you're gonna get like at least a couple hundred subscribers. And I remember Jake Bishop was saying like, I don't know, I've been stuck at like 800 for like 2 years, and I had him on Talk About Nothing. He got over 1,000 the next day, and I was like, gotcha. So I really, because I want more people to have the courage to do this. I know people think it's like hyper competitive or something. It's not at all, it's not. At least not from my end. I just want more people doing this. I want people to have the confidence to turn the camera around, talk about what you're reading, because again, having that community is just, it's everything. It's what keeps you honest with, what you're doing and what you're talking about.
Yeah. I think there's a coffee shop I frequent, and I don't have a camera in front of me, but I talk to people,
That was my goal when I started. I said I
checking out, getting groceries.
It's just talking at just talking at a coffee shop. That's kind of the mood I was going for.
Exactly. And I don't know. I love talking to people, and I like asking questions.
Yeah, but your channel is like super, super chill. Like I just want to get some pajamas on and make some hot cocoa and just kind of chill out when I watch this stuff, man.
I love it. That's awesome.
Very laid back. It's like so laid back. Like sometimes I'm like, man, I just feel like I'm low energy sometimes. And then I'm like, maybe sometimes I'm talking too fast. Like people tell me you talk too fast. I'm like, well, they got a button down there. You can slow me down.
Yeah.
My thing is I try to keep my videos under like 25 minutes, which is hard for me because I can ramble. I can talk about this coffee mug.
You don't jump cut a lot.
No, I don't like doing that. Like I say, I like it to feel like a conversation. If I have a jump cut, it's either my kids are being dicks, or I sneezed, or that idiot kid in the neighborhood is riding his moped down the street again. That's the only times I ever really cut. I try. Yeah. See, Gary's got it. She's got it. But I like to go one take Jake, as I call it. Try to do everything that means I know that there's less stuff I've got to edit out. Now I will edit for time sometimes. Because like I said, if my videos, like I just did my wrap up, or not my wrap up, my halfway point, the halfway point video,
Mhm.
and it was like 45 minutes. You
Yeah.
got to cut this down. I think I cut it like
No.
38. But I was like, yeah, sometimes I need to get to the point. I know that. And I will have people that leave a comment, be like, man, you talk a lot. And I'm like, yeah,
You have a lot of books.
I have a lot of things
You
to
read
talk
a lot.
about.
And it's I like that because I can just turn that on, make my breakfast. And your videos, thankfully, in my time zone, every morning.
I got told that one of my patrons, Jay, she told me that this morning. She said that me and Daniel always release her videos at like the same time. So in the morning, she has like a good hour worth of stuff to do while she takes care of her chores and stuff. And I thought that was really cool to hear. That's awesome.
Alex, here's toward a monster or something. I appreciate that. I drink coffee, but this going toward coffee.
So are you a coffee snob, or you like me? As long as it's hot, you'll drink it.
Okay, well, I wanted to ask you this because you're in Texas.
Yeah.
Waffle House.
Sure.
What do you think?
I'm actually from Atlanta originally, and Waffle House is way bigger out there than here. But yeah, pretty much SEC country, as I call it, the Southeast through the Southwest. Yeah, I mean, Waffle House was good. My kids love it. They love it much more, unless they're wanting pancakes and they want to go to IHOP, But for me, see, Texas is all about pecans. So we have the pecan flavor coffee out here, and it's so good. We have our local grocery chain out here. It's called HEB, and they make this in-house like pecan coffee. It's just amazing. It's amazing. But again, if it's not like airport coffee or something, yeah, as long as it's hot, give it to me. I'm not really a snob.
It's not like
every once in a while, a patron will send me like some really nice coffee, and I'll be like, wow, you guys are going to spoil. Like somebody sent me like this. It's called like Java Valhalla or something. It was like Viking coffee. It was like amazing. And I was like, dang, you're going to make it feel bad when I got to go back to this like Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Do you have a grinder at home?
I do. Yeah. Okay. I didn't until he sent me those. And I was like, well, I really want to try this. So I did go get one of the machine.
I'm going to send you beans. We have, it's amazing. So I'll send you that. You have a PO box, right? So I can just.
I do. It's in the description of every video. You're very, very kind. I will always happily accept coffee. Thank you.
It's books and coffee for me. I want to give.
Can you do the iced coffee though? Can you do the iced coffee? I see you're drinking out of a can right now. So do you do the iced coffee?
Book coffee? This is normally I don't drink out of a can. I like to, pour over, whatnot. But if I drink coffee, it's black. I don't put flavoring in there. I do cold brew, every now and then, but primarily
I've tried it in my Keurig, and I'm just like, I just feel like I want to heat it up.
Yeah,
so I'll have the cold brew coffee. The brand is cold brew, but I'll have it hot.
Yeah, that's tough, especially with that machine. You probably want to get like cold brew at like
I got one of those. My kid, because we went on a cruise last year, and we had like the it wasn't the alcohol package. It was like a drink package where you could get like the specialty coffees, and it included frappuccinos, and I just had about 1 billion frappuccinos on the ship. So for Father's Day, they actually bought me the one that was like half coffee maker, half frappuccino maker. And I was like, nah, it just can't get the balance right. It's either too icy or it's not icy enough. So I quit doing it. But I was trying to do the iced coffee in that thing. I was just like, coffee has to be hot for me. I don't know. It's maybe something I could get used to.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to get, you're a person who's drank sugar in your coffee and then you try to get off of it and go black. It's tough. It's tough for people, but I don't know. Maybe I could get used to iced coffee, but
it depends. I mean, for me, I lean more toward hot. I like it in a normal mug. I like the steam.
The problem is I do live in Texas, and it's usually about 112 degrees.
Exactly.
There, so it's tough. Make sure you're indoors when you're having.
Yes, that's why I'm like a little surprised how it's like, because it can be humid there too. And
it is very humid here. You pretty much, if you like to swim while you walk, that's pretty much how you can get down here. So
so I film weddings for a living, and we were in Pennsylvania 2 weeks ago. 90 degrees, 90 plus degrees, and it's just humid. I mean, it's just
they get some humidity up there. Yeah.
It's not as bad as like Alabama, because I've shot there, South Carolina.
Yeah, from Atlanta, so I was used to it right there up the Savannah. Yeah. It's you get used to the humidity. I don't ever say that like you get to the point where it don't bother you. You just learn to live with it. It's just one of those kind of things. Where are you at? What part?
Kind of like near Santa Barbara.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It's chill. We're by the coast. The only issue is like marine layers, so we don't get a lot of sun.
Yeah.
But you drive 15 minutes, boom, 90 degrees. So we got a lot of microclimates.
Okay.
It's nice. Yeah. And we got good weather here. Like,
yeah, we got seasons here. It's very hot or it's not. That's it. Yeah. That's it. That's our seasons. We don't get the leaves changing colors and all those things. Yeah. But we have no state taxes, so we put up with it.
That is one thing I was going to mention. That's nice. That's a benefit.
That is very, very nice.
Yes, that's very nice.
So what are you reading right now, man?
Okay, well, I just finished this.
Oh, sweet. Your first time?
First time.
And I know you loved it. I'm not even going to ask what you thought. I know you loved it, right?
I loved it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
This is up there.
Yeah.
That's everything, man. That is nostalgia. Even though I didn't grow up in the 60s, it's just...
Sure. And that's why I tell people when they say, oh, Stephen King's just a schlock writer. He can't write beautiful. And I'm like, read the body, man. He can write some words in that book that's like, holy crap, this guy's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, very, and through the perspective of, another author, another writer, which I love that he does that.
He does that a lot, yeah.
Yeah,
it ain't broke, don't fix it, yeah.
Yeah. What are you reading right now?
Well, I finished this. I know we've been talking about it recently because it's like your wife's favorite series. So I finished this today. Liked it better than 2, but still like book 1 the best so far. And I am also reading a Stephen King, which is Dark Tower #7, which is a reread for me.
Okay.
And this is a special edition dust jacket that somebody
sent.
So
how do you handle those special editions? You just kind of like you wear gloves and.
I mean, this is just a dust jacket. So really, if I'm reading from this, if I take it out of this room, I take the dust jacket off because kids, kids or the dog will get a drink of water and come put his snout on it or something, So if I'm reading from something nice, I read it right here at my desk in my office because this is the only room that my kids know under pain of death. Don't do it. They know. I know they come in here when I'm not here, but as long as I don't know about it, but they do know. Yeah, probably shouldn't go in there because Dad will probably
like a nanny cam in there and just like.
It hasn't gotten to that point, but I have been like, if they're getting older, it might be time to put a lock on this door, But they pretty much know. That's Dad's area. Don't mess with it. They're afraid of like knocking over my lights or something because they know I would lose it on them. But some of those special editions, it does feel kind of sacrilegious to be read. I make sure I wash my hands first, But it does feel weird to kind of read out of some of them. But again, to me, it adds to the experience. It feels like you're reading something really special when it looks that nice. You're reading out of a nice leather bound, with these embossed edges and these painted edges and all that. It's really nice. It's really nice. And every time I get a new broken binding edition, I say it might be the best one they've ever done because I feel like that when I open them. Their stuff's just so pretty.
I mean, books are supposed to be read, and I think it is nice to collect and have beautiful books on the shelf, but.
Well, I still don't crack spines. I still won't do that.
Okay, I agree with that. I definitely try to, but I've gotten to the point, like if I spill coffee on a page, I'm like, that's a memory right there, like.
Okay, it's a good way to look at it.
Like it adds to the experience. Although
I got all my old Star Wars books over there, and they look like they've actually been through a war. And I mean, it's just like that's because I was putting my backpack in school and stuff, and just loaning them out to friends. It was a different time. Now I'm just like, oh, dude, don't. I think you like bent the edge a little bit. What are you doing? So.
Yeah. I did. I saw a short. I don't know who did it, but they're basically talking about like mass market paperbacks, and you can tell how much you loved the book or where you paused because you see on the binding those wrinkles. Mm-hmm. And I think that's pretty interesting.
It's a book to say it gives character. I mean, I will joke and be like, oh, I think dog earing a page is like basically like if you just like stab my mama or something, and it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird for me. Or like people who are animals and actually like highlighting their books. I'm like, what are you doing, man? I can't even believe it. But I think your food's ready.
No, we got to let it decompress. We got the timer. We got it all. The whole system is just beautiful.
We're more of crock pot people, but
okay. Yeah. I need to get into that, like a pot roast. My mom, I grew up with pot roast.
We have this thing. It's 3 ingredients called a Mississippi pot roast. And it's amazing. It's au jus gravy sauce, just like the powdered ranch and a stick of butter on top of a pork loin.
That's 1950s right there. That's how my mom cooked.
Amazing. I think it was like, I was like, 3 ingredients. This can't be any good. Texas out here where everybody's all like super proud of their cooking and stuff. And we made that in a crock pot one time. We're like, holy hell, that's amazing. It's just, yeah, it's smack your mama good.
Okay. All right. So what's it called right now? It's
Mississippi pot roast. You can Google it. You'll find it everywhere. It's really, really popular. It's so easy to make. It's something that we do, and you can have it like the whole week. You know,
easy.
if you're a big crazy meat eaters like we are. So you know.
Yeah. Are you do you like lentils?
I don't remember the last time I had them.
Okay. Well,
I
I'll
don't
send you the
remember.
recipe that I rock with. It's
Okay. I don't remember disliking it. So yeah.
It's good. It's a power food. A lot of nutrients.
Well, you're very thin and in shape, so it must be healthy.
It is, and I love it. Like 1 cup is just enough, and it lasts. You know, for me and my also tiny thin wife, we're able to you know, we make it through the week.
Are you guys exercise freaks? You guys go biking or backpacking or anything?
She does Pilates, and then
yeah.
I'll do kettlebell. But like I used to be a meathead. Like,
oh really? Okay.
Oh yeah, like I ate a lot.
I was in high school, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I was like 21 to like 25, but then I'm just like, dude, it's costs so much. I'd rather spread my groceries out a little more. And
that's how I lift weights now.
Yeah,
Stephen King hardcover.
Yeah. Speaking of my next read, that's a thick boy, and it is about a boy.
Oh, see, reading that right after The Body, you're gonna love it. Yeah,
yeah.
We were already in that time for that mood.
Yeah,
thanks. Yeah,
no, that's thanks great. To you. I discovered
you're reading 2 of the best coming of age stories ever, back to back. That's good.
I am so excited. I know nothing about it, so
yeah. If you like The Body, it's pretty much a guarantee you'll like that one. As I said, I feel like it really feels like an extension of it, really. In a different part of the country, you know, more in the South, whereas you know it's up in the Northeast in Castle Rock with The Body.
I love that. Oh, real quick, I'm ignoring the chat right now.
No,
I feel horrible.
Go for it.
Let me see. How do you any tips on like how you do you scroll back? Do you?
I usually will tell people like at first everybody's really excited and there's a bunch, and I just don't feel bad about dropping the question in there a second time if it's been a while. Just don't spam it, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, Kellen, what's up, man?
Kellen,
he reads a lot of the same books I do. He sent me a bunch. He sent me Discworld. I need to get back to it. I only read the first Discworld book, and I said that everybody was like, "Don't start there with Discworld." So I went from everybody being mad that I wouldn't read Discworld to being mad that I started in the wrong place. You know, so I think I gotta actually go. But I said, look, he sent me these 5. These are the 5 I'm gonna read, or the ones that he sent me. So, but I do need to get back to that for sure.
I hear it's a good ride.
Yeah, me and Brent read Boy's Life around the same time. I think we were both really getting into Robert McCammon at the time. I think we both read Swan Song and loved it.
I was going to ask if you read that.
Yeah, I think that you get everybody to be like, hey, it's like Stephen King. I think McCammon's probably the closest you could say to Stephen King as far as like the coming of age stuff that Stephen King nails, the way that kids that age talk to each other and just really making you feel nostalgic, even if you weren't raised in that time period.
Yeah.
You know, for a time when, you know, like riding bikes and stuff until the streetlights came on was like just something that just really hit home for you. But then if you want like the horror stuff, I've really leaned into Ronald Malfi a lot lately. It's really, really giving me those young King vibes a lot. And I need that because King isn't writing like that anymore, you know. And
I was going to ask you about that.
He's almost 80 now. I shouldn't expect him to, you know.
He didn't, that was like, so my first dive was like Misery, but also I did the Bill Hodges trilogy.
Yeah.
And they're just so stark differences. And like,
I like the Bill Hodges trilogy, but it was very different for what you expect with King. Like I keep waiting for like a monster or something to jump out of the corner, you know?
Yeah. It's, I'm more of a classic King fan.
He's got some stuff, I think, in the 2000s. It's really some of his best stuff. But yeah, you go back pre-2000, like everything is just
Salem's Lot and Carrie. I mean, I finished Carrie. That was phenomenal for being his first book. I was just like, this is just
first book that he threw in the trash can. His wife got out of the trash can for him.
Yeah,
about that.
Thank her, man, because we have a phenomenal writer who has his own section in the book, like his own genre, like. Yeah. Because he's not, I wouldn't even call him a horror writer because I mean, number one, I haven't read a whole bunch of his stuff, but I've read enough to the point where I'm like, there's more to this than just horror. And we need to give him more credit than just.
Sure. Yeah. I tell people a lot that, he might have cut his teeth as like the master of horror that he did, you know, it's where he really kind of broke out to. But at this point, he's wrote more non-horror books than horror books, I think.
Yeah. Duma Key, I keep getting recommended as
That's
like,
one of those that kind of flies under the radar, but everybody that reads it, actually, I know that Tori was reading it recently. I don't know if she liked it or not. I think I was
Hmm.
afraid to find out if she liked it or not because this is the first Stephen King book she's reading. I was like, that's an interesting place to start. But Tori's taken a massive dump on a lot of things I love recently, so I couldn't take it with Stephen King too.
I didn't. So I liked Salem's Lot, and I read it because of your recommendation, and you were like vampires done right, and there I loved most of it, but I felt like I was just like I wanted a little more.
Mm.
Want a little more. I wanted. Yeah, I'm not. I'm gonna spoil anything, but I just it's like dang, darn.
All right.
But you're reading Empire of the Vampire. So what's that like with vampires compared to
Empire
Salem?
of the Vampire, what I liked about it was, now that Brent's here, we can kind of talk about, we kind of had the same reaction, is when we first saw the cover and it had a guy on the front cover without a shirt on, and we're like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
We know where this is going. So we kind of judged that book by its cover. And there's another booktuber, he's kind of semi-retired. He doesn't do a lot anymore. His name is Mark. He runs a channel called Slowly Read. He kind of focused on grimdark stuff. And I was like, wow, you're reading that for real? And he just was like highest praise for it. I was like, okay, well, shoot, maybe I'll give it a try. And I loved it. And then I actually, met and talked to Jay Kristoff, and he's just like the most awesome guy. And I was like, well, I want to read more of this guy's stuff. So I've read 2 of his series now, and I've talked to him on the channel like 2 times, and he's just awesome. He's just the best. But Empire of the Vampire, what surprised me is that you could tell that was the publisher saying, oh, yeah, they love paranormal vampire stuff in the States. Let's make it look all sexy. And the book is sexy. I mean, vampires have sexy stuff going on. I mean, hello, if you read Anne Rice, vampires can be sexy. That's fine. But that isn't their defining feature. It's a very, very messed up book. And the vampires can be very, very scary. And that's what I was like, I miss a time where, look, vampires, they want to eat you, not date you. No, they can kind of do both. But mostly they want to eat you. You're a happy meal to them. That's kind of the way that I like my vampires to be, is scary. And I was like, okay, this is a step in the right direction of taking the genre back.
Oh, what is it? My wife. We just watched Sinners last night.
Yeah, that was fun.
Not what I expected. I wanted a little more. I was like, oh, dang it. Really? That's what you did?
I liked it, but maybe it's because I wasn't expecting very much. So, yeah, it was before the hype train really, really got
30
going.
30 Days of Night. Have you watched that?
No, is that 30 Days of Night? I always get that and 28 Days Later confused.
No, it's 30 Days of Night is like the Northern Hemisphere.
I want to say I saw it when it was brand new. Yeah, okay. I think. But I think that vampire and zombie stuff, I just got kind of exhausted with for a while. And I just kind of tried to avoid it, especially when it got hijacked by all the tweens. You know, I think, and then zombies, I just kind of got tired of it. But now I've started watching like a lot of the South Korean zombie shows, and those are really awesome. I'm like, okay, I'm not tired of zombies. Yeah. I'm just tired of the way that we're having them here in the States, where they're boring. So yeah, I guess I'm not really as tired of the genre as I thought I was. But I've never actually read like a zombie book. So I don't know.
Have you tried the Walking Dead graphic novels?
I read the comics. I read the comics before the show even came out. I was a big fan of the comics.
Amazing things about that.
Comic up until about, which is, it makes sense why the show kind of fell off, because up to about issue 100 it was can't miss, and then it just kind of fell off a cliff, which is kind of when the show did too. So
yeah,
Vampire,
that show was just oof.
Alaska, 24-hour night. Okay,
I think that they have they have 24-hour nights, and I think for 30 days or 30 nights they have to because
it's the last. Okay, yeah.
It's a very cool concept, so I'm curious, and I trust my wife's taste, although she's watching Love Is Blind right now.
My wife didn't even watch horror until she met me, and she still will say I'm not a horror fan. I was like, you have watched at least 100 horror movies. You're a horror fan. You just don't know. I mean, isn't nothing she ever going to watch on her own? No, but I was like, on my other channel, I was like, everything that you're on there with me is talking about horror movies. Like, that's it. So it's kind of her thing now.
Yeah, I'm not much of a horror fan. I feel like it needs to be an element, not the element.
Sure.
And I think that's why I like Stephen King so much, because it's like there's that human.
Yeah. Element. Yeah, I always say his books are, there's monsters in it, but the monsters are actually the humans. You know, that's kind of like a thing. You know, what humans will do to each other is way worse than what the monster would ever do.
Yeah.
You know, they'll eat you, but you know they wouldn't like make sure that they scar you really bad before they eat you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so yeah, maybe with horror is just I grew up in a time period in the '80s when horror movies were just like exploding. You know, and so it was just kind of hard. Freddy and Jason were ruling the world. I keep thinking it's your fire alarm.
No, it's just we got this really cool timer, and I'm just my bad. I'm so
It's all
sorry.
good. It's live, baby. It happens. I mean,
I know we're live.
I was live with an author who sold millions of books, and I dropped off my own live stream. So hey, don't worry about it, man. These things happen.
That is, yeah. You've been, yeah. That's nerve wracking.
It was frustrating while it was happening. In hindsight, it was kind of fun because Joe doesn't miss a beat. He just keeps going with it.
Yeah, he's super chill.
It
I've
was
yet
awesome.
to read his stuff, but like most booktubers, we have books that are on our shelves that we plan to read.
Well, I'm sure you have this experience. Once your channel started getting some legs, you got a bazillion recommendations. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that because I mean, you say on your channel all the time, it's like, hey, you're never going to run out of things to read, and we're
And the
probably
thing is,
never
like,
going to
when
be
I
able to read
started my
everything.
channel, I had 2 bookshelves. Now I have 8 in a closet that's like overflowing, you know? So it's mostly off of recommendations, you know, and it's great. It's great.
Yeah. And I don't have a PO box anymore because, well, I wasn't getting a lot of things, and that's okay. But yeah, thankfully, I'm not getting gifted a bunch of book hauls because
Yeah, I think it
that would
was,
be nerve wracking for me.
gosh, I was probably about in my 3rd year, and I gave out the home address one time. My wife was like,
Oh,
yeah. And she was like, no, you might trust them now, but you won't gonna trust them when they show up at your door. So I was like,
yeah,
all right, so I guess I'll go get one.
yeah. It's funny. I actually locally, my wife and I went out to eat one night, and
I can get recognized.
we ran into someone who's
Yeah. Wow.
local
Okay.
who had been commenting on my channel, and he and his girlfriend were out at the same spot. We ran into each other at Barnes and Noble and found out he works at a local Trader Joe's that we
That's awesome.
shop at, and it's just a joy to talk with him. And then there's another gentleman who works at that Trader Joe's, Henry, and he was like talking about my channel. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a weird, surreal moment. But
Yeah.
first thing I asked him, like, what's your favorite book? And he said Swan Song. I'm like, okay, writing it down. Cool.
Yeah. That's pretty much a can't miss one.
Yeah.
I think because, you know, almost all your viewing audience on YouTube is going to be far away from where you actually are.
Yeah.
But I've had a couple instances, and one really funny one locally was they have a section. They have a store called Books a Million, which is like a Barnes and Noble, but it's, you know, by the mall. And I was in a section they had called Book Talk, which I do not do. And someone in that section recognized me and wanted to take a selfie with me. And my youngest kid was like, "Are you famous?" So that was just kind of a cool moment, just because my kid got to see it. And you know,
Yeah.
you put some respect, because like I remember my oldest kid when they had, like, you know, when he was still in elementary school, your parents could come up and say what they do or whatever. He didn't tell anybody I worked in finance. He told them I was a YouTuber.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put some clout on there. Yeah. So it's kind of funny in that way. But not that they'd be ever interested in what I'm when it's about books. We're like, yeah, whatever. But
Yeah.
I just tell everybody, you're a YouTuber. I'm like, well, I mean, I have a real job too, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It's I don't know. Do I confidently say, hey, I'm a YouTuber, you know? But
I put it on my resume now. I don't put it as a booktuber. I just I put YouTube partner.
yeah.
You know, because I have my real thing. But dude, we are writer, director, producer, marketer, all that stuff. That counts. That goes into what you know how to do. You know,
I haven't had a
want you to
job.
be able to video edit and to be able to edit videos and to be able to edit audio and stuff. They want to know that you can actually speak.
Yeah.
And some people be like, well, what if your employer ever found out what you do? And I'm like, if my employer is upset that I talk about books on YouTube, I'm not working for the right company.
And that sounds like a them problem, because that's a great thing to have, you know. Talk about
sorry,
books.
I don't have a, hey, this is what's going on the cable news channels right now. I'm not that kind of channel, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried if my employer finds out about this. It doesn't really bother me.
And then also, you mentioned just getting in front of the camera. Like, that takes a lot of confidence. That took Took me a while to do that. Like I
When,
worked behind the camera for years, and I confidently do that. But putting yourself in front and your voice.
well, as you can probably tell in those early videos, I had all the audio equipment. I did not know anything about video recording. So I really used YouTube as just like a hosting thing because, you know, you could host the audio on there for free and then you can kind of upload it to iTunes. So I was just kind of using it for that. So I didn't really know a ton about the video stuff. And when I started doing this, it was like, man, what a mess. Because it's like, I know how to talk because I've been podcasting for, you know, over a decade now. But I was like, putting this on the camera? What are you doing, man? And that's why it was like, I had over 10,000 subscribers before I finally moved on from a webcam, you know, and finally went out and got a real camera and stuff. So it was something I was always like, this is just, it's a hobby. This is fun. I'm not going to sink any money into this because it's just wild. And, you know, here we are this time later. And I still can't figure out how to get my lighting right, you know, and sometimes my videos look stupid. Hey, at least the audio is good. That's the way I look at it.
It's actually, I think that's the most key thing. Like, I think you could be shooting on a cereal box, but if you're, you know, as long as your audio is good, because that's what matters. Because a lot of people put the phone down and listen.
Yeah.
Listen to you.
That's why a lot of people want me to put
videos are 45 minutes long, and I'm kidding.
A lot of people want me to put my stuff just on podcast format, and I was just like, no, because I still want people to come here.
Yeah,
you know, to listen, you know, but some of those like long conversations, like I'll have an interview with an author or something. Yeah, I'll upload it to the podcast. But I haven't put anything on the podcast page in like 2 years. So it's just one more thing I got to take care of that I never remember to. So
yeah, I mean, there, you know, the video aspect is nice because then again, like, hey, you're in your little book nook, you know.
Right. I've spent all this money on lights that I still don't know how to work right. So damn it, watch it.
That's why I use sunlight. I use natural light, and it betrays me all the time. Clouds come in, sun comes in the middle of shooting.
I have a video from my first year talking about why I love the Star Wars EU. And I do that with natural lighting, and a storm rolls in during the middle of it. And then like the sun comes out of nowhere and it's like nuclear. So it's a complete disaster. But it's, yeah, again, it just kind of shows it. If what you're talking about is something that people are interested in, they'll put up with some crummy quality, I think, as long as they can see you're working on it. What I do hate is when someone, their first experience with the channel will be to, I think Chance wants you.
Chance, what do you need? What's up? Guys, I'm so sorry about the chat. I'm still learning how to be present with, you know, everyone who comes here, but all right, here we go. For both of you, what are your tips about starting a channel? Well,
just go, man. Just go. It's never going to be perfect. I see all these people who spend so much time and money making their setup just perfect, their AV perfect before they'll even go. And then those people always flame out really early because they're like, I don't feel like I'm getting, you know, the amount of people watching for how much time and money I spent setting this up. Just go. If it takes off, then, you know, start to invest in it a little bit. Don't let the camera or anything like that hold you back. If you are not nervous to get in front of the camera, and let's be honest, most book readers are introverts. I understand it's hard to get in front of the camera, but just know you're not going to be perfect. Don't read from a cue card or anything. I always tell people just be yourself, man, and just let it kind of happen. But it just go, just try it. Just everybody's first video sucks. Yeah. Just accept your first video is going to suck.
Totally. Yep. But it's that confidence that you'll develop as long as you keep doing it. But also it's like, don't worry about other people. Like you have a voice that is unique and you have a different take on books or whatever channel you're doing, you know, and it's a copycat league out there. You look at Hollywood, you look at YouTube. I mean, it's a lot of people are doing this algorithmic editing, but hey,
I wish I knew how to figure out the algorithm. Every time I figure out the algorithm, they change it. You
know? Yeah. I think it's, that once they figure out that you figured it out, they're like, okay, we got to change it.
Now, when it comes to like actual content, I would tell people the 3 B's: be yourself, be honest, and be consistent. You say you're going to put out 3 videos a week, put out 3 videos a week. You say you can put out 1 video a week, put out 1 video a week. Be yourself, as in like, don't try to, they're going to know if you're trying to be just like some other channel out there that's really popular. Your audience isn't stupid. They can say, oh, well, you're just trying to be just like this one channel. So be yourself, obviously, and be honest is like, yeah, do you know it was probably channel suicide coming on here and being like, you know what? I didn't like Name of the Wind like all you guys did, and I'm going to tell you why. You know, that was probably like really dumb of me. And also don't lie and say, you could read this book and actually like it, but then make a video. But if I make a video saying I hate it because it's really popular, that'll get me more attention. It's like a lot of people have made great careers out of doing that. But I have found that your audience will be organic and it will stay if you're honest about stuff instead of just doing stuff for rage bait, because they're just going to keep what's the next thing that you can be upset about.
Yeah, I totally agree. My sister-in-law told me that. It's like, hey, don't worry about the numbers. And it's easy to compare yourself, especially as a creative. But like she told me, like, I've built, well, I didn't really build it. I think it was just very gracious that it happened. But the audience that I have is just very genuine, and it's small, and it's gonna, I don't know, it's a slow built community that I think it's not like viral, like I'm not trying to get in as like a one-hit wonder and leave. I want to be here forever. And
yeah, any YouTuber that tells you that they're not looking at the numbers at all, I don't think they're being 100% honest. I don't think that it drives everything that people should do. But
it's easy to look at the numbers, but when that's your main motivation, that's really what I mean by that.
Because it can be super frustrating if you feel stagnant for 4 months. It can feel super frustrating because you want growth on your channel. Obviously, you want to keep growing. And if you feel like you're just kind of spinning your wheels, you get to a certain point where, like, hey, my audience I have my core audience. They're going to be here no matter what. That's great. That's what you want. But to just say, like, oh, I don't care about it at all, I don't know. I mean, there's probably some people out there like that, but I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, I saw that there's this one YouTuber who just got completely run off YouTube for being honest about saying, that we all look at our analytics and things like that, and got like completely run. I was like, why is that controversial? I was like, some people do this for a job. I don't, thank God. Some people do this for a job, and I understand why they're looking at these things, and I don't think they should feel bad for it. And if you're like me, you're data driven, you're goal oriented, of course you're going to look at these things. I try not to look as much because they can get you down a little bit. Because YouTube has no chill. It's like, people don't really like this video. You suck.
Well, the thing that I definitely avoid is when I look at the watch time, and when I realize people cut off after 2.5, 3 minutes, I'm like, oh, I don't look at that anymore. I'm just like, okay.
I have most of my videos are over 20 minutes, and if I make it past 6 minutes, it's like, wow, okay, must have had a good topic.
Yeah.
So it can get demotivating, but again, I don't think it's bad to look at these things, and I don't think that, again, it shouldn't be the end all be all. If you're don't do this if you're not having fun, is what I tell people all the time, because then you will make it a job. Then you'll start chasing the content that people, that everyone else is doing. I talk about all the time, like, book reviews don't really do very well. And the reason I'm saying that I do less of them is not because, they aren't doing well, so I can't do them. I try to listen to my audience. If that's not what you guys are looking for, I want to keep looking for what you do want. If you guys don't want the standard book reviews anymore, okay, I'll reel it back on those, So that's really what it is for me. It isn't necessarily, I've got to get 30,000 views on this video, or I'm not doing it anymore.
Especially if you put all your eggs in the basket, and that, because that's your job, if that is your job, and it's like, if I'm not performing well, oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
Yeah, no, Derry, she watches till the end. She watches till the very end.
I know Derry is, really appreciate you. Like, she'll watch us play Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm like, how are you sitting here? That's awesome. I appreciate that. Chance, it was wonderful for you stopping by and just giving that bit of information about the lightsaber and the microphone. Sorry I missed any other comments. I'm so sorry. I like, because I wanted to ask you this. What is your favorite movie?
I feel like it kind of goes back and forth sometimes. I grew up in Atlanta. Civil War history is very big out there. Gone with the Wind stuff is very big out there. So I watched Gone with the Wind about 100 times when I was younger. So I always loved that. I love just looking at filmmaking from, almost 100 years ago and seeing how it's changed and stuff, and seeing what you were able to actually do in a time period where we didn't even have color cameras yet. That's just incredible what they were able to do. Was just practical effects, because that was the only option they had, stuff like that. I find myself going back to The Empire Strikes Back constantly because once I had kids, it's like Star Wars is the easiest thing to get them into, and so I've watched that a bazillion times. Raiders of the Lost Ark and Back to the Future might be perfect movies. Like there's nothing wrong with those movies. Like it's not a single frame is wasted in either of those movies. So I feel like it kind of changes a lot, But I usually tend to lean one of those 4 or 5.
Sicario.
Denny V, he's very good.
He's my guy.
Jerry, I've watched The Princess Bride so many times that I could put the TV on mute and I can not only recite the dialogue, I can kind of do the music too. I could do the music. Yep. I have a Dread Pirate Roberts costume. I do. Dread Pirate Wesley, I guess you'd say. Because I said one day I was going to review Princess Bride in this channel and I was going to be dressed like Dread Pirate Wesley and I wasn't going to say a word about it. I wasn't going to say anything. But that's like, I'm just not that kind of goofy channel.
Yeah. I don't know. It's tough to pick a movie because there's so many.
And we change, we change constantly. Your viewing tastes change and stuff. Like there's so many movies I could talk about that I've just watched a bazillion times, and there's some that we watch every year. We watch Lord of the Rings trilogy like twice a year. We watch over the summer and around Christmas every year, The
extended edition?
That's the only one I know of. I don't know what you're talking about. That's the only one.
Hey, there's people out there talking
about. As far as my kids know, that's all that exists.
Good. Yeah, because oh my gosh, yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, my oldest over the summer, he's been just watching all of his favorite movie franchises, even the bad ones, as he puts it, because like he watched like all the Jurassic Park sequels and stuff before the new movie came out, and he watched all the Pirates movies, and he's watched all the Star. Actually, he watched all the Star Wars except the Disney ones. He's like, no. He did Rogue One. That was it. He stopped. He was like, I'm not going to do it.
I think Rogue One is it. Yes, on the surface, like this didn't need to get made. But Greg Fraser, baby, my favorite DP right now. It was great.
Yeah, no, I like Rogue One. I feel like the last great Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
But that'll get a conversation. That'll get me flipping tables.
Yeah. But the thing is, Christopher Rocchio loves the recent stuff, right? Or he's a bigger fan. I thought he was a bigger fan of like.
I would be convinced that Christopher doesn't like anything, and we've talked about this. Like Christopher, I mean, he can't even stand the Dune movies now. I mean,
well, yeah, he didn't like part 1 or part 2, really. Yeah.
No, but we joke about this all the time. Like he was just here for Comic Palooza a couple weekends ago, and what we were talking about, I can't remember like everything that came up because they had so much, Jurassic Park stuff there, Ghostbusters, all this stuff, and everything they had there, he'd be saying about like what he didn't like about it. I was like, do you like nerd stuff, Christopher? So, yeah.
He's great. I've watched a lot of his interviews, and he's got.
Oh no, Christopher's a lot of the greatest. I love him.
Brilliant mind, I think. Although I wasn't like, the biggest fan of book 1. Oh my gosh. Sorry about that.
That's why I don't do my live streams from the phone.
Gosh, I thought I put on Do Not Disturb.
I know that would happen.
I wasn't the biggest fan of Empire of Silence, but everyone says book 2, like you trust the process.
I love book 1, but I'm the type that like I think I just love book 1s. I'm so much of a character guy that those character introductions, like meeting someone really, really awesome for the first time. So I think that's why I always kind of lean towards book 1. But yeah, I mean, that's a very, very unique opinion because I feel like everybody it's either book 2 or 3 or just like it's the greatest thing they've ever read. So I loved book 3 a lot. Book 3 was great.
Yeah. I like book 1s too. I love Simple Beginnings, and it's tough to pick one for Wheel of Time, but I Have a World. Sure, maybe it's derivative of the Fellowship, but I just love what was happening on in my life and just the atmosphere of the book.
I think Great Hunt's probably my favorite Wheel of Time book.
It's a damn good book.
I think because that was the one where it was like, okay, is this just going to be a retelling of the Lord of the Rings? And it's like a hard left turn. No, it's not. It's its own thing. And I just love the adventure in that one. So
what prompted you to read Wheel of Time?
Well, it's so funny. There's a whole story. You want the whole story? Okay. For the longest time, for years,
here we go.
I just reread Lord of the Rings like all the time, and it was around the year 2000. My roommate that I had at the time was like, "Well, instead of doing that, why don't you try Wheel of Time?" Okay. And I started reading Eye of the World, and I was like, I feel like I've done this before. I think of the exact words that I use. It kind of feels like great value, Lord of the Rings. What I told him. And he's like, okay, well, let's go to the bookstore so you can find something else. And I found A Game of Thrones. And I fell in love. And I'd never read anything like that before. I was like, wow, this feels like it's like for my age range now. This is amazing. So I never really read Wheel of Time. The same friend over the years, all the time. You know, you're reading all these series. Yeah, you're reading Dark Tower again. Hey, what, you think you could try Wheel of Time? And I was like, I don't know. Is it done yet? He's like, no, it's not done yet. And then the author died. And I was like, well, I'm not reading if he ain't done with it. And so when Brandon Sanderson finished, I was like, oh, that's cool. At least they got an ending. I don't know who Brandon Sanderson is, but hey, cool. At least we got an ending. That's really nice. And still, I was like, I don't know. I just kept thinking back to, I didn't like Eye of the World when I tried to read it the first time. And I was like, well, you know, I'm a lot older now. So it was right when they said, hey, we're going to be making a TV series this. And I'd always told the same friend, if they make a movie or something, I'll read it before it comes out. So he made sure he let me know, hey, this is going to, Amazon's going to be making this. And regardless of how it turned out, that was what pushed me to read it.
That's another rage bait.
So the rumor at the time was that they were going to be doing 2 books per season. It was the only way they were going to be able to do the whole series. So they did 2 books per season. That was a rumor. So I said, okay, well, I'll just stay ahead of the TV show. But I read the first 2 and I was like, well, I can't stop there, you know, and I kind of kept going. And that was right around the time I started this channel. And that was when I got so many other recommendations. I kind of slowed down. I took a break between book 4 and 5. And then I took like a 6-month break between book 6 and 7. And I got a lot of the, oh, you're never going to finish the series. Like Malazan people are doing to me right now. Now, to be fair, I've taken like a 3-year pause on Malazan, but I understand. But I don't think that taking breaks are a bad thing, by the way. But that was just kind of what led me to finally doing it. And then I had gotten actually a media access to go to JordanCon. So I was like, well, I want to hurry up and finish the series so I don't go there and someone wearing some cosplay outfit was the ending for me.
Yeah.
And then I speed ran it to get through it, to get it right before. And then they canceled it like 3 weeks before because of the virus shall not be named, you know. So, but it was a good experience. So I read the whole thing in, I think, 13 months. It took me 13 months to read the whole thing, but it was really back heavy. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
so funny because that's kind of how I discovered Booktube by accident. I was just making like video diaries, as I would call them, for myself. Because it's like, well, if I'm going to read 2 of these and then stop, I want to make sure that I can go back to it and see what it's talking about. And then I was like, what if my computer crashes or something? I'll just go ahead and upload this to YouTube. I'm already using it to host a podcast. And I was like, it says I got like 100 comments on this video. What the heck? You know, that was where I found it. And everybody's like, you got to try this channel. You got to try this channel. I'm like, channel? What are you talking about?
Channel.
Oh my God, people talk about books on YouTube?
Yeah.
I had no idea. So it was a complete happy accident for me. And I guess I got
love
time to think for it.
Well, I thank you, because
all I used YouTube for was to watch movie trailers and the Angry Video Game Nerd. That was all I did on YouTube.
Yeah, there was like Red Team versus Blue Team and just a lot of weird videos out there, and now YouTube has these channels that's pretty cool. I like it. What moment in Wheel of Time were you like, okay? Was it the Great Hunt where you were like, this is something special?
Yeah, I think so. I remember in Great Hunt, and that can kind of be vague here in case anybody's going to read this. There's a moment towards the end of book 2 where we expect our protagonist, this is going to be the moment where they embrace using magic, right? This is going to be that moment. Instead, he just has this really badass sword fight. And it just completely just like, wow, it's like such a well-written fight. And it kind of it just subverted my expectations, not in an insulting way, not in a Star Wars The Last Jedi kind of way, but in like a way that's like, okay, this is believable. I like this quite a bit. This guy just fought a sword master and he won. This is amazing. And that was kind of the moment for me. I was like, okay, I think I'm full speed ahead on this for sure. And then the way the book 2 ends, it's like, oh my God, well, of course I got to keep going. Yeah.
Did you find that the first 3, I know it's been a while, but did you find that the first 3 books were a little formulaic? Because they kind of ended.
Sure, I used to joke that Balzamon was kind of like Cobra Commander. It's like it's just going to keep showing up just to get beat by the Joes every single episode. Here, is this what you're going to do? You split the group up, you get them all back together for a big finale. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Very Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's Wolas? WOLAS. Light and Shadow. Wars of Light and Shadow. Is that Janie Wertz? I haven't read her yet. But there's a lot of people reading that right now.
I'm so behind on books.
Well, everybody, they get into these series. They're like 15 books long. And I'm like, man, look, I finished Wheel of Time. I finished Realm of the Elderlings. I finished these really long series. Can I keep it at like 5 or 6 books from now on?
like you say, it's like I miss the fantasy standalone or like the fantasy trilogy. So
Normalize the trilogy again. Yeah, that's what I want.
That's why I'm happy with how Robin Hobb splits her series into trilogy.
Yeah, or do it that way, where you can take those extended breaks. That's why I love the Legend of Driss books, because it's just like 3 or 4 books, and then you can kind of stop for a while and come back to them when you want. That's great. I love that. If you're going to do a long series, I feel like that's the way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, after Wheel of Time, it's like, because I was really early on in my reading career. So it's like, now I feel like I'm like, oh, wow, this is what reading's like. I could read a book from cover to cover and get everything. So like, this is, not a thin book, but,
at least you're one and done. Yeah.
It's one and done. And I'm going to start that tonight. I cannot wait.
You'll zip through it. McCammon is like so easily digestible. It's like his books, like a Swan Song. When I looked at it, I was like, this is massive. This is going to take me forever to read. Man, I read that thing in like 5 days. I could not stop turning the pages. Yeah.
I know you don't have like a per se like reading schedule because life, but do you have like a routine in a way how you approach reading daily?
Well, I read every day that I go to work because I get, a lunch break, and I'm not going to talk to coworkers. I talk to them all day, So I'll always read over my lunch break. So that's at least 30 minutes right there. I'm always going to read before bed. That's depending how tired I am. It can be anywhere from like 10 minutes to 2 hours. So is there some days I don't do it? Sure. There's lots of days like over the weekends where I'm just doing stuff with the kids, and you know what? It's time to go to bed. It's too late to read. I'm just going to bed. That will happen. But I get the majority of my reading done either in bed or at the office, or just if I'm just up here and like everybody's doing stuff. Because my kids are, like I said, my kids are that age where you can't really leave them alone, but they'll leave you alone. They're really at that age, they just want to stay in the room all the time.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have those times where I can just, read for an hour or so up here in my office. So people always say, how much do you read a week? And I'm like, just life don't work like that. I can't really say, some weeks I can get through a 700-page book, and sometimes it takes me 2.5, 3 weeks. It just kind of depends.
Yeah, it depends. I like
that.
It
depends on how heavy a book is, like
exactly.
You can read this in a few days,
exactly.
But this is going to take you a little longer.
Yep. So. Yeah, I feel like for me, fantasy is, I read that slower because you're learning new proper nouns, places, names. I mean, talk about names. Wheel of Time, 2,000 plus named characters.
Wheel of Time, I can't even count how many times I said, who the hell is this?
And I've always took your advice. It's like, hey, I ignore them if they're not brought up, multiple times.
Robin will bring them up numerous times if you need to remember them. Yes.
Yeah.
So the Aes Sedai names, just forget about it. You don't need to know all those names.
Yeah, I got my gripes, but man, it's, I don't know, something unique. But then you go to Stephen King and I'm like, what the heck?
It's like 3 characters. Yeah.
I read this in a few days. This is amazing.
Yeah, that's why I've really embraced doing more horror during the year this year. Is just like, this is awesome. It's I don't have to worry about world building because, I live on Earth. I know where Earth is. So that's not a problem. And I basically learned about like 3 or 4 characters. It's great. I love that. It's been really, really relaxing.
I like
okay, well, I got to download like 14 new countries and 85 new characters into my brain, and how they're all related to each other and how they all hate each other and their past.
You got to refer to the map and everything and the genealogy and get the compendium. Because didn't you get the Wheel of Time compendium?
Yeah, I did. And then everybody's like, don't read it until you're done because it will spoil it.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So
I want to get it.
Use it. Yeah.
I want to get it for a reread whenever I do that, but not anytime soon. Maybe when I'm.
I think I'm too late in life, and I started a YouTube channel. Now I got too many things I'll never be able to read. I can't do 14 books again.
What are you looking forward to most to read this year?
I'm really excited about the new Joe Hill book, which I actually have. But I'm kind of saving it for October.
I think you mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's definitely probably you're making me pick one, but also the conclusion of the Empire of the Vampire trilogy is very exciting for sure. The follow-up to Will of the Many, which is a lot of people's book of the year last year, so we got the follow-up to that, and that's exciting. But I don't know, there's a new Bound the Broken book I ain't got to yet. Thing is, like, all these books that are like 600,000 words are the ones I'm most excited about. I'm like, well, when am I going to find time to read that? Because I can't do it all in November when they're all coming out, So the holidays might be very, very busy, but it might be just like 2 books,
Yeah. Yeah, it's always tough when you're reading with the holidays because family, and then
Yeah, so you get time off, but the kids get time off at the same time, so
exactly.
doesn't
Do
always
your,
quite work out that way. But
do your kids read?
no, man, they got Netflix, they got tablets, they don't got time for this reading BS. My youngest will occasionally, but no, I try. My oldest is like I try to get him into it because I was reading Harry Potter to him, and then we started reading Percy Jackson. He loved them or whatever. And I was hoping that it would encourage him enough to ever want to pick these up on his own. But I think he's going to be an audiobooker because he listened to me read to him. And he was
Oh,
very,
okay.
very high expectations. No, you can't use that same voice. And I'm like, well, man, I'm not Robin Williams. I don't have that many voices, man. What do you want me to do? He's like, the thing was, I was reading Percy Jackson. And he was like, no, you can't use that voice again. I was like, I'm not using that voice from Bears. He's like, yeah, you use this one character in Harry Potter. I'm like, that's a different series. I can't use the same voice. How many voices do you think I have, man? So,
You're
yeah,
not a
he would.
you're not a dungeon master for D&D. You're not a
Yeah,
voice
so
actor.
I thought that would encourage him to actually, because I brought up the idea of, hey, this summer, maybe we could read Aragon together, because Inheritance Cycle I think is a
Yeah,
great starter series for fantasy fans, and he loves dragons, so sure, I thought that'd be a great place, and I was like, tell you what, we'll do like 2 chapters, and then we'll talk about it. And not interested, and I'm not going to force them. If you force them, they're not going to like it. But
exactly.
he read The Outsiders in school, and then we watched the movie together, and he really liked that. He was talking to me about that. He was talking to me about The Giver. So he's kind of at that point where he's, they'll make him do it for school, but he actually will enjoy it. But on his own time, he's got Pokemon to catch. He ain't got time for that shit.
Hey, you got to catch them all.
You
What's the
catch
longest brick you've read?
the longest book that I've read. Was it Shogun? It might have been Shogun. I don't know. I'm sure there's something longer than Shogun. To Green Angel Tower, Tad Williams, maybe.
Oh,
That took
wow.
2
Wasn't that
months.
split into 2 books?
Yeah, I split mine into over 2 months because I was like, I can't do this. That one book is longer than Lord of the Rings, like the trilogy. Yeah, that might be it. I don't know. I'm sure someone will tell me there's some other book that I've read that's longer. But I thought Shogun, it was amazing, but it also felt like the longest book I'd ever read
Oh my
because
gosh.
I broke it over 3 months, and that's why it felt like that. I split it
Yeah.
up over 3 months, so it felt a lot longer than it was. But it was an amazing book, amazing book.
Have you watched the show?
Yeah, I was very, very much an advocate telling everybody to watch this. Like, this is going to be amazing because I can tell just by the production that's going into it. They want to make it very much like the book. I was like, they're not even going to speak English for most of it. It's
Good.
going to be authentic. And
Good.
when I saw the cast they got, I was like, okay, yeah, this is going to be amazing.
Good. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but I'm saving
And my
it.
wife did not read the book, and she loved the show. She said it was probably the best that she had seen since early Game of Thrones. So, it was like her favorite, like the coolest thing she had seen on TV. So,
Speaking of Game of Thrones, you what I love, because that's when you did your fantasy top books, that's like second to Dune, right?
no, Dune. I put Dune under science fiction.
Oh, okay. All right. I always
No,
thought, but
I
Game
do
of
it
Thrones is
every
number
other
1, right?
year. I know a lot of people like to do their top 10 fantasy books like 3 times a year. I try to say, look, if it doesn't change, I'm not going to keep doing it.
Exactly.
But I felt like every other year, I read so many new series. Maybe something could roll on. Something. If I feel like if there's enough of a change that justifies doing a new one, I'll do it. And the first 2 times I did it, Lord of the Rings stayed number 1. And the third time I did it, I had been doing some rereads of Song of Ice and Fire and being like, really, my only complaint about the series is it's not complete. It's absolutely amazing.
And
So
it's still
it actually
worth reading.
took back over. Yeah, it actually took back over my top spot. But yeah, I feel like that top 5 can kind of fluctuate.
Yeah, I haven't read enough fantasy to have a top 10 yet.
That's me with people like, why don't you do this with like sci-fi series? And I was like, I haven't read enough sci-fi series. I did enough where I said felt like I could justify doing my top 10 sci-fi books, and I did that. But I was like, fantasy series feels like a fantasy thing to me. It really is a fantasy, or I guess every genre has like long series. It's just I haven't read very many sci-fi series that go on longer, like The Expanse and Sun Eater. That might be it. Dune.
Mike mentioned people doing top 10s. Wonder what
Oh,
else.
no doubt it's overdone. Yeah, that's why I try not to do it frequently. I will. I mean, if I get enough requests for something, I'm going to do it because in the end, I want to do what the audience wants. And I'm not a hipster that's like, well, I'm never going to do that. Like I didn't do my top 10 Stephen King until like recently, and I've been doing this for 6 years. People have been asking for that for years. So I try to keep a 2 times a year, maybe 3. I will do like my favorite of something, but like the actual top 10, try not to do it very often, but I mean, again, if people are asking for it, yeah, I say go for it. But yeah, there are channels who I feel like every time they upload new videos, like their top 10 fantasy series, I'm like, really? Again?
And
I get it. I
they're
get it.
able to
Like 150,000 views. I get it. I get why they do it.
They're able to reword that title a trillion times and trick you, because like, oh my gosh, a new list. But hey,
yeah, I've been doing this long enough now where I feel like some of those special kind of videos I did before, with like a special topic or something, I could probably start doing those again. It's been long enough because I'll feel like, hey, I've already done that video, and it's like, yeah,
this is great. Yeah. I like top 10 videos because they do give you ideas, and like I like your.
That's what I say about book hauls. It's like, I know it's not for everybody, but I feel like it gives a lot of feedback.
Exactly.
People. I mean, I mostly do that just to say thank you and to kind of give indie authors a spotlight a little bit. Hopefully, help them get found. But I feel like it does generate a lot of conversation. Like I remember I got those Driss books, and it was just the conversation in the comments about the Driss books made me want to read them because I showed them in a book haul. Just everybody just talking about it. Driss was like, it's my childhood. That was everything growing up to me. That was everything. That was my coming of age with fantasy. It made me want to read it. So for me, I want to do videos that's going to start conversation, and also it's going to help people recommend stuff that they think will work for me. As if people that have been with me since like 2019, and they know my likes and dislikes now, and they're usually pretty good at telling me what I'm probably going to like and what I'm probably not going to like.
And I appreciate your honesty, because
so what does it benefit anybody to lie? I mean, I know that some things I've said have been very unpopular. I get that. I know that people think that Liza Laclamora and Name of the Wind are like amazing books, and I don't think they're bad books. I just don't see what everybody else saw in them, but what does it benefit me to sit here and say, oh yeah, it was amazing? You should.
I made a video on Mistborn, and I was scared to make that because like I genuinely didn't like that book. But it was after I read Name of the Wind, and I think I loved, that writing style. So I was comparing everything to that kind of poetry rhythm. So I'm like, this is rigid and kind of just, I'm being told everything. So maybe if I give it a break, read it another time. But now that I've been able to read other authors and like approach books with a more objective like mindset, like, okay, hey, new author, like I've never read Robert McCammon. I don't know, but anyways, like new authors, new styles, and it's great. But I was nervous about that.
The Sandersonians can team up on you. Got to watch out. And the thing, it's hilarious thinking about this journey with Brandon Sanderson since I've been doing this channel, was when book 4 of Stormlight came out. I was honest that I didn't really like it. And you can, you go into YouTube analytics, you can click on a video and see like how many subscribers you earned, or you can actually watch my subscriber count in that video go down because I was negative on the book. And then you fast forward 3 years later, and I do my review for Wind and Truth, which is book 5, and I'm mixed on it. And there's people upset that I'm not being harder on the book. So it's like, what a difference 3 years can make. So it's kind of funny.
So Midnight and I both like Name of the Wind. I have yet to read Lies, but
here's my thing with Name of the Wind is I think it's like because I went and actually did a honest to God normal standard book review for it, and people are like, wow, you said a lot of positive things about it. I'm like, yes, I didn't hate the book. I just didn't think it was the Bible like everyone else treated it as. When it first came out, I was having friends were telling me this is the most important fantasy book since the Lord of the Rings. I'm like, holy shit, wow. So of course, I went into this with like super high expectations.
Yeah.
So that's why I said, sure, I wouldn't mind revisiting it. Because in that video, I do talk about, there's things about that book I think are spectacular. Unfortunately for me, it's like he sacrifices a lot of things I love, like an actual plot and characters that I root for. It's just some things that didn't work for me for what I like in my books. I can understand why people like, especially a lot of people told me that was my first adult fantasy. Like I went from Harry Potter to Name of the Wind. I get that, man. I
literally
get that 100%. I understand that for sure. And he's an amazing writer. But what I say is, I don't read a book just because someone's a great writer. I read a book because I like the way they write, plus their character work. So if I want someone that's a beautiful writer, hey, I've got Christopher Rocchio because he tells a good storyline too. So I don't know. It isn't the end all be all for me when people are like, oh, well, prose is just so beautiful. They can get you so far. But I do think that there's a lot of great things about the book.
Yeah, that was my
amazing.
first, it was the book that got me reading. So of course, like with that, like I'm seeing fantasy through that lens, you know, like.
Sure. No, I
It
completely
is,
understand it. That's whatever you read right after you get out of, middle grade books. Yeah, that's always going to have. I mean, I read Dune at 15 and it's never ever left my mind,
yeah.
It was just perfect timing for me.
Actually, what book got you into reading? Like, what started your kind of journey?
Oh boy. Well, I think the first book I read without pictures was Treasure Island.
Mm.
And the thing was, is like just whatever we read in junior high, we did 3 years in a row. We did The Hobbit, we did Watership Down, and we did Where the Red Fern Grows. And all three of those books left an impression on me for much different reasons. Because I can't even talk about Where the Red Fern Grows for very long without tearing up because it cut me that deep. But but I don't know. I think it was just Mark Twain. I read some Mark Twain when I was younger. I just always really just wrapped up. I did a video recently about like my coming of age through books, and I talked about the books like at different times in my life. But you go through like where I was talking about Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I think about that as like a picture book. And then you kind of move on to, well, I want something with a little more gravitas, I guess you'd say. I didn't know what that word meant when I was younger, but I'm just going to use it now. And like I said, when I read Treasure Island, this is great. I love this. And that really kind of opened my eyes for adventure and being like, you don't have to rely on pictures, because I'd read a lot of comics at that time too. And yeah, then I found The Hobbit like everyone else. And that just kind of opened up that world for me, and I didn't read The Lord of the Rings until high school, honestly. So it was something, but yeah, everybody wants to go to The Hobbit. I think they always want to try to say that, but my journey had already started before The Hobbit, but that just kind of just like really set it in motion for me. Like I'm ready for bigger worlds. And think about it, Watership Down has a really, really complex world. If you think about it, like I never really dealt with like factions and houses and stuff. And they thought, oh, these are cute, fluffy bunnies. Oh my God, it's a horror show. You don't expect that when you read Watership Down. I still can't believe they let us read it in junior high.
I've never even heard of that book. I'm writing it down.
Watership Down. Oh my God, man, it's a classic. Yeah, that's an amazing book, man.
Okay.
Definitely.
Speaking of classics that I'm actually looking forward to that I know you've spoke highly of, Ray Bradbury, Something Wicked This Way Comes.
That's a great Halloween read, man. Yeah,
I cannot wait.
Awesome. I hope you love it. I think Ray Bradbury is one of the most beautiful writers of all time. Like
I only read him in high school with 451.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 451's great book. Very ahead of the curve. I'll say that. He was ahead of things. You talk about 451 too long, and I might get your channel demonetized. You got to watch out. So.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, Watership Down is incredible, and one of the things I look back and I'm like, I can't imagine like my kid's that age when I read. I can't imagine him reading Watership Down. I don't know. Maybe it's just a different time period. But we read it as a class, and they would be like, "Okay, we're going to read this much," and I would just take it home, and I would be like reading ahead because I was so into it. But yeah, it fools you. It makes you think it's about cute, fluffy little bunnies, but it's not. It's about war between these two factions, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Red, how you doing, man? I have another question.
Yeah.
You always say coming of age stories.
Yeah.
What draws you to that?
And I don't know. I think it's just one of those things that just reminds you of a simpler time in your life. You grow up and you want to be older, and you get older and you just want to be younger. And it just reminds you of that sweet spot right in between, when you didn't have all the worries you have as an adult, but you weren't quite treated like a child anymore. It's like that small window between like 13 and 15 when everything in your life seems like it's the end of the world, like, oh, this girl broke up with me. It's the end of the world. This boy doesn't like me. It's the end of the world. Things like that.
Yeah.
I think it's so important to framing who you become, I think. And it just, for me, reading it as a kid, I loved it because I felt like I was reading about my life, and then reading it as an adult, it just makes me think of those things because nothing can take you back in time like a book or music that you were listening to at that time period. It's just like a time machine for me. And I just can't get of it. And there's so few authors who can really just capture that well. But when they do, man, like Stephen King is one of the best at it, obviously. I love the way he does it because you'll get these things where they'll do a coming of age book and the kids talk like they've got a thesaurus in their pocket. It's like Dawson's Creek or something. I'm like, I never used, am I a dummy? I never used this kind of words when I was 13 or 14 years old.
I love, that's why I like The Body. Cause like,
yeah, it's like He'll get down to like, okay, hey, they're talking about like hey, looking at a Playboy or they're making fart jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what boys do at that
And
age.
like they describe things smelling like farts or just the things they call each other. I'm like, dude,
It
man,
makes you feel like a kid again. You know, it's fun.
maybe I didn't talk exactly like that as a kid, but like I can remember that.
I feel like you if you didn't do that, you feel like you remember someone from your childhood that time period that was like that, you know. And
but the thing is, one thing that because this is a book club book, so if there's any viewers out there who are reading this book, I'm going to mention one thing. The rule that you don't break, and that's you can talk bad about each other, but you don't talk bad about someone else's parents. And I just like
no mamas.
The anger that I would like, you talk bad about my mama. I wasn't a fighter, but that brought the fighter out in me. And you don't talk about my mom.
Man, mama jokes were huge when I was a kid. You got to watch out, man. You
same.
Get socked. You can get socked.
Yeah. And it's just like so relatable.
See, everybody talking about Watership Down now. These my people.
Okay, now I got another book. I got a Barnes & Noble gift card for my birthday. So
hey, it's a one and done. I mean, there is an actual book too, but just read just Watership Down. It stands alone by itself. It's great.
What a good way to put it. King's got a talent for describing complicated emotions and situations in a simple way. Yeah, his writing is not flowery for the sake of being flowery. It's not like difficult. It's accessible.
I feel like when he writes kids, I always, like I said, if it's something that I went through, I knew someone who was going through what those characters were going through, and it just no matter how old he gets, he seems to be able to just keep doing that. And I'm just like, he must have amazing memory, because I can't remember what me and my friends talked about, but whenever I read his books, I'm like, oh yeah, that was it. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff we did. That's the kind of bullshit we got up to.
Yeah.
Pre-internet.
Are you so like with Stephen King, are you like, his modern stuff, like his recent stuff, like, are you still like diving at it?
I haven't read his last two books. I read You Like It Darker, which was a short story collection, and I like because I was leaning back into horror, which is what I want. You read Bill Hodges, so you know who Holly is.
Yeah.
And I liked her in those books. I liked her with Jerome and with Bill. I thought they were a great team. And you had Pete in there. I thought it was a really good group of characters.
Mm-hmm.
I never liked her enough to say, I want her to be the primary character for the rest of the books that he writes until he passes away. He's written 3 books now with her in it, or 4 if you count If It Bleeds, which was a novella. And it's just like, I don't know what he's finding so fascinating about this character, but it's just like, I said in a live stream the other day that I feel like he watched Bosch, because he carried on about Bosch, the TV show on Amazon, which is based on Michael Connelly books. Yeah. And then he went and read all the Bosch books. And that's why now he feels like he's got to be a crime writer.
He has shifted into that.
Because he liked those books so much. And I'm like, it's great. And I'm not telling you got to stay in your lane, Stephen, but it's like, you've been doing it for like 12 years now. Can we go back to,
it would be interesting to see, like, I mean, because, as a creative, I've been making films since I was a little kid. So your journey as a creative is different, and it grows and it evolves. But like, it would be interesting to see just his old self. Like, if he just kind of goes back into that classic Stephen King, I'm curious what kind of stories he would be able to pull out.
We wrote one called Later about 2 or 3 years ago, and that was awesome. It was a ghost story. I was like, he's still really, really good at this, man. He's still got his fastball when he wants to use it, but he keeps going back. And apparently, I haven't read it, but apparently he has an afterword in his most recent release where he's basically saying that he's tired and he understands that he hasn't been up to the levels that even he expects, So at this point, I didn't expect he'd be still putting out 2 books a year at this age, So.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Shining as well. That'll be this winter.
That is legitimately creepy. Yeah. Legit creepy. No doubt.
I cannot wait. I want to be scared.
Yeah. When I reread it, because before I started this channel, I was really working on a Stephen King reread, which is what Into the Multiverse is right now, because it really got slowed down once I started doing this. But when I reread The Shining, I was like, bro, I know what happens in room 217. I'm still freaked out, So it's a really effective book.
What do you think of the film?
I like it for, I understand why Steven wasn't crazy about it, but I think that both of them are amazing. The book, and it's like Jurassic Park. It's like it's very different in the book, but both the book and the movie are amazing for different reasons. I actually think it makes Doctor Sleep by Mike Flanagan better because he actually adapts Stephen King's book, Doctor Sleep, but also makes it the sequel to Kubrick's The Shining and kind of combines them together. And it's amazing what he did with that movie. I think the movie, that's one of the rare cases where I feel like the movie was better than the book. It really, really was because of what he did. But yeah, I like the movie. I mean, it's one of my favorite horror movies ever. But
Yeah.
people are like, well, then does that mean you don't like the book? No, I love both of them for different reasons. They can
Um,
both exist.
Speaking of a book that I think it was off of your recommendation, Jaws.
Eventually,
I remember you talked. I think it was like I think you were talking about just horror books in general.
my most popular video on my channel is the top 10 horror novels, which
Yeah.
is so funny because horror doesn't move the needle on my channel at all. So I
Yeah.
have no idea why that video, and just every Halloween it comes back. It just
And
comes
you
back.
mentioned Jaws, and I read that last summer, and because I had no expectations. It's only you bringing up, how do you say that phobia?
Thalassophobia is fear of the
Yeah.
ocean. It's not about really what's in the ocean. It's about the space, the openness of it.
Mhm.
And yeah, it freaks me the hell out. Like I
thought the book.
can't get in the ocean for that reason. It's not because I'm afraid of
Yeah.
sharks. It's because I'm just, the space just freaks me out. It makes me want to.
We don't like the water, the ocean. Like we just like reading next to it, But that's because my wife, as a kid, got, I think, pulled into like a riptide or something. And
Yeah, that'll do it.
that'll do it. That'll ring you in.
I love to look at it. I
But
just don't like to get in it.
the book Jaws was surprising to me because it was less about the shark, because I wanted it to be more about the shark and
no, it's about
the
Brody and Hooper and
it was about
Brody's
the
wife.
shark.
Yeah, Brody's
Like,
wife had a much bigger role in that book.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Stuff I'm glad they left out of the movie, honestly.
Scariest part of the whole book. I was sweating. I was reading in a coffee shop, and I'm just like, golly, this is wild. What's happened? This is dark, darker than any depth of the ocean.
Yeah.
That was wild, and it was interesting. Maybe I was wanting a little more Steven Spielberg.
The movie is better. The movie's definitely better.
Yeah.
And we just watched it again on the 50th anniversary. We watched it, and it's still amazing. It's one of the best movies I think ever made. And it's one of those where I feel like them having the problems with the shark actually helped, not showing the shark very much. It really, really helped. Oh man, Exorcist is amazing.
I haven't read it.
I love the movie, and I never read them. It was a couple years ago. I said 2 of my favorite movies ever are The Godfather and Exorcist, and I've never read the books. So I want to make it a point to read, and both were incredible. Clearly, Exorcist, it had these huge expectations, but yeah, it's one of the freakiest books ever written.
Call me crazy, but I think Godfather Part 1 is a Christmas movie.
Okay, that's a take.
Because it's got a little Christmas in it, and we watched it, I think, I don't know, a couple days after Christmas this past year, and it was cozy.
That's like my wife trying to say Harry Potter is a Christmas movie. So it's like, so maybe a movie just has to have Christmas in it now, and it's a Christmas movie?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you haven't, but it's different when you have kids. But have you watched Prisoners by Denis Villeneuve?
Yeah. It was before kids, though. Thank God. Because
I've watched it multiple times.
He was still, a toddler. But yeah, no, there's some stuff where I call dad shit, where I'm like, it like The Road by Cormac McCarthy. It's like, if I had read that after having kids, I don't think I'd have been okay, because it tore me up before I had kids. But there's some things you just can't know how you're going to feel until you have kids. Pet Sematary by Stephen King. Loved it when I was a teenager because it was gory and gross, and it was all the things I wanted. It was scary. And then I read it after I had kids, and I was tore up. I was like, I can't.
It's different because, like, I've been married for 1 year and 3 months. My wife and I've been together for 6 years beforehand. So, but when you get married, there's like, I don't know. I grew up a little more, that much more, and there's that weight of responsibility that I feel.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I have kids, that's going to be different. And stories, movies, it's going to be different because you have a little soul to take care of.
I turned into such a softie after having kids. I remember it was like, I used to be like, it didn't really affect me that way. And then I started seeing like long distance phone commercials and I'm crying. It's like after kids, you just become a big old softy, I think. And I've heard it's even worse if you have girls. So watch out. So.
Yeah, I'm.
Yeah, reading it after kids, man. That'll.
I read The Road when I was 21. It was like one of the first books I read to kind of try to get into reading, and it was good. I enjoyed it, but now that I have this kind of, this background of reading, I feel like I want to read it again this winter and look at it through that new lens because I hear it's good. But I'm starving here, and my wife she was playing Fortnite, I think, but I was going to see her get a victory royale here. But she always has a question of the day, and I wanted to end with this.
Okay.
If you could live in a world from one of your favorite books, which would you choose?
Gosh, see, this is tough because most of the stuff I read is always like, well, look, they don't have air conditioning, so I don't know if I want to live there. Gosh, I mean, I think I'd want to maybe be like The Expanse. I think maybe because it's a very familiar like our world, but there's a lot of advancements in like medicine and technology.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where I feel like I think that humanity will get there one day. I won't live long enough to see it. Us to be able to just hop around the solar system really easily and stuff. Be able to do something like see the rings of Saturn with your own eyes. That's something that I just feel like would be just incredible. So yeah, space is very scary, very much like the ocean. I would not want to get out in it because you want to talk about being in an open space, Jesus, But yeah, AC is necessary. So I think I'd have to go more for sci-fi than I would fantasy because you can get stabbed really easily. Now, obviously, like I said, with The Expanse, you're dealing with space and space don't mess around. But I don't have to go to space to experience the wonderful technology of that universe, and that you can have cures for cancer and things like that. That's really wonderful. That's really fun. Cancer's, taken too many members of my family, obviously. So that's a little personal. But again, just some of those technological achievements that I know we will get to, just probably not in our life cycle, to be able to see it because I felt like The Expanse did it in a way that's a future that's believable. It's like 150 years in the future, so it's a future that's very much believable. So I would say something like The Expanse. Yeah,
I see. The only sci-fi thing I've read is Empire of Silence. So, and maybe if you would count 451.
I guess you call it kind of dystopian, but yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So, well, okay. Well, I got a sci-fi recommendation for you. It's by this guy called Frank Herbert. You might have heard of him. Okay. It's called Dune. It's really, really good.
I'm writing it down right now. Let me just.
I mean, he might have a future. I don't know yet.
I mean, my favorite filmmaker did, make.
I'm just like, please let James Bond go well, because I love James Bond. I love Denny B. And people are like, could Denny V make a James Bond movie? Like, did you see Sicario? Yeah, I think he can make a great James Bond movie.
And add a more human aspect, maybe even not coming of age, but more of that, like, I don't know. We'll see. But I trust him.
Well, after the casting, we'll see. We'll see how young we go here.
I mean, Casino Royale, though, that's a perfect Bond film, in my opinion. I think it's going to be tough.
I wasn't crazy about Daniel Craig, but I did like Casino Royale. Yeah.
I grew up with Pierce Brosnan. So seeing this,
I'm older. I grew up with Roger Moore.
I know.
Roger Moore, but I love Sean Connery the most, So I love the Bond films. I've watched them all so many times.
I love
even
them.
The ridiculous ones, even the absurd ones.
I love them. Speaking of ocean and AC, we recently watched the Poop Cruise documentary.
Yeah, we watched that too because we go on cruises like every other year. So yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah, it's very, very scary to think that could happen. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I wouldn't do it. But hey, everyone, thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out. I'm really sorry I neglected to give attention to you guys and really converse with you guys, but it's an honor to chat with Mike, the absolute Booktube legend, and thank you for having you all along.
Thanks for asking, man. You said you was like too nervous. No, man, never. I love the chat. I love talking about this stuff. It's great. And Red, I'm glad you like Blackmouth. I love hearing that because I have had some people come back and say, "Oh, you carried on about Blackmouth. It wasn't that good." But you know what? Hey, a lot of people have liked it, so I'm glad. I'm glad you liked it.
Well, guys, thank you all, and until next time.
There you go.